Welcome to the Forecast by Bamboozer, your guide to the future of retail, tech, and innovation. We bring you insights from the world's frontrunners so you can stay ahead of the curve and win big. Let's go. Luxury Promise is a wild success story. In just a few years, they went from a niche luxury reseller to a global powerhouse with Hermes and Chanel bags flying off the shelves. Recently, they made £250,000 in just an hour of live streaming. Today, we sit down with CEO Sabrina Sadiq for an interview. Let's find out how they turn community into big business.
Sabrina Sadiq, welcome to the Forecast.
Well, thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here in Dubai. And today we really wanted to talk about what's happening with Luxury Promise. But before I talk about all the successful things that you've been up to, right? You've opened your own store in London with the Mayor Sadiq Khan in presence. And then you also had a sale recently in 60 minutes of 250,000 sold in 60 minutes, which was a record.
Yeah.
A truly global business. But take me back before this all began.
How it all began?
Yeah, how it all began.
Well, maybe is this a time to make a confession where I'm a handbag addict and it all led into a shopping addiction that led into a business. So for me, it all really began not knowing that it was beginning. So very typical South Asian upbringing where you said you become a doctor or a lawyer. So studied law, thinking that, one day I'm going to be this really bright lawyer, but actually I had a real passion for fashion. I know it rhymes, but and when I actually was at law school, I had this beautiful girl that had walked in. Her name was Marianne, and she walked in with this very rare bag, which was an apple green bag, which I'll tell you what it was. It was a Birkin. And I was like, what? Oh my God, I love your bag. Where is it from? And she was like, darling, you don't know where my bag is. It literally was like very much a Sex and the City moment where she was like, you don't know what my bag is. It's a Birkin. Okay. And the colour is not green, it's vert anise. So I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, it looks like a Granny Smith colour. And that was my explanation. Yeah. And that kind of opened up this world of like, what is this bag? I felt stupid because I didn't know what a Birkin was. And then I kind of started looking at this obsession of wanting this Birkin, and she was like, no, you can't just walk in and get this bag, it's very rare. So then I started looking into the world of secondhand because I couldn't walk into the store, and first I couldn't afford to buy anything from the store other than perfume from the Hermes store. So I was like, okay, let me see if I can buy something from a secondhand store. And I ended up during the times of when my husband was traveling for work, going to a store in Switzerland and finding this very rare box Kelly, which was, at the time I didn't know, was a Jean-Paul Gaultier So Black box Kelly. So it's got black hardware, it's an all black bag. And then I, at the time, was training to be a solicitor but didn't complete. Ended up selling off the bag to a client at the time who was like, I'll buy this bag off you for 5 times the value. So I was like, wow, my gosh, I make more money than I do in a year of training as a solicitor, which isn't very much at the time. And that kind of opened up this world of resale and buying and selling bags as a trader, but being very studious. I know it's a very long story.
It's a very interesting story. Yeah, I need the backstory.
I ended up being like, what if I sold a bag that was fake? So being, legal and like didn't want to be like getting myself in trouble, I ended up teaching myself how to authenticate bags because there was no school of authentication. And at the time, I went to other resale platforms which were doing something similar and saying, hey, can I teach your team members on how to authenticate? Yeah. And I would buy and sell, I would travel around the world, meet different people in the business who were trading and built this incredible network. Sure. But at the time I was doing all of this and approaching other resale businesses, I was like, they don't really fully understand their customer. Okay. They don't really understand that the women are worldly, they travel, and there's a real gap missing of secondary luxury goods in these markets. Sure. So I'm just going to do it.
Wow!
So, there we
go. Did you complete this the law degree? No. Okay, so you found something you were much more interested in, and it was your passion.
My addiction.
And addiction. So I think we talked about the vision that you had as well when you were setting up the company was around this democratization of luxury, and I think you just touched upon that a little bit. But could you tell me what that means and what that vision is for Luxury Promise?
So what does democratizing luxury mean? I mean, it means for me making luxury accessible to anybody. And of course, there's some pieces that will never be accessible by everybody, and that's not what I'm trying to say. What I mean by democratizing it is that in some places, primary luxury brands don't actually even have places to serve their audience. So I know we're here in the Middle East.
Sure.
So somewhere like Saudi Arabia, there is no Hermes store, believe it or not.
Wow, didn't know that.
The only thing you can buy in Hermes in Saudi Arabia is perfume, or you can't go. There isn't a store that focuses on this. Birkins and Kellys, and so even places like Cairo. If you look at North Africa, there's no Hermes store. There's no Chanel store. There's Bangladesh, Pakistan. There's loads of places which the primary luxury brands aren't.
Okay.
And so for me, it was about giving them access to these pieces and giving them, an opportunity to think about what they have in their wardrobe, sell their items that they no longer want, and actually get the items and progress with us. Also, at the same time, giving people the opportunity to maybe buy something pre-loved, like a vintage Louis Vuitton bag, and really teach them the brand's history, the ethos about why you buy a luxury item, the craftsmanship. And that's what I think which is really what makes us really different, is the educational part as to giving people the history of buying a product and why you would buy a certain bag and why it would maybe fit in your needs, and maybe even make investments in certain parts of the products they're buying.
Wow, so you're actually catering to communities that wouldn't have reach to these products traditionally, right? So
Exactly.
You're going across the world. So you're almost building communities within each of these regions. How important is that kind of community building within the ethos of your brand?
I think that is the ethos of our brand, inclusivity.
Okay.
And I know for me, that's yes, we do luxury goods, and yes, we are selling like these really ultra luxurious items, but I feel like a lot of the women are just like me. So when I built the brand, and I think when we was having this conversation earlier, it was like, I built the company for me, because I built something that I felt was missing for me to go and shop. So which is the inclusivity aspect, and also, making things really accessible. So if I want to buy something that is in, for example, Dubai or Japan, I want to fly all the way there. I want to go to a trusted party who will be able to do all that information for me, give me all the knowledge that I need to let me know, am I making the right purchase? Am I not making the right purchase? And give me information about that product before I take that deep dive into shopping just off a website. So, when you typically go on a website, you can see a static image of a bag. I want to know how are the corners, who was the previous owner, what life has this bag had, and why is this bag so special? Why should I take this bag over the 500 bags that are on the website? So that's where the social commerce part came into it. Like, I want to talk about it, be inclusive, have the representative. So when I, go on to, somewhere maybe like a branded website or go on to other research, I don't know what it looks like on that person. So when I stand, or my hosts stand in front of a product, they might be an image of the person. So I say, we are the image of our customer. And that's something that's really important. So I wanted to relay the image of being that customer. Yeah. I'm not 5'11". I don't look like a supermodel. I don't wake up looking like this with full-blown makeup. I want to be able to be representative of the customer, show them what a bag looks like, how you may style it. And that was really important, being very inclusive, but also not just inclusive in the product we're offering, but also the team members that we have. So we are all from all different walks of life. Some of us, have had certain challenges, upbringing, and some of us want to be able to relay that to the community. So that's the really important part, is that we're friends within friends. We have friendships that have built within the community. We celebrate everybody, wherever they're from, whatever their religion is, and that's the important part about this.
Wow, I wish I brought a notepad, because you touched upon so many different elements there, right? One was around the innovation, moving from static images and really bringing the brands to life through kind of video or video commerce. Then you touched upon diversity and inclusion. So if I could go to the first part, which was around what differentiates how you tell the brand stories through video? Like, where did that innovation come from? How did that idea come from?
It was like talking to a group of friends.
Okay.
So I think you'll find that with, Luxury Promise was already built when it started on a small community of women.
Okay.
So when I first set up Luxury Promise, it was based on these women that didn't know where to go and sell their items. So they wanted to go somewhere where they could trust so they could go and say, actually, you know, I don't want to give my item on consignment. I just want to be paid outright for it, and I want to give it to somebody who who's going to trust who I can trust with that product, who will pay me for it. But also at the same time, you want the buyer who will be like, I want to buy it from someone who actually knows what they're talking about. I want to know that the authenticity is guaranteed. I want to know that the product is what they say the product is. If they say it's very good, can you tell me why it's very good? Or if there is wear, does it have smell? There's so many things that you cannot get from an image. And it's a conversation that you can talk about the product and display that through video shopping. So for us, it really happened through the rise of social selling, right? So being on somewhere like social media, so what we did, we first started off with doing some stories, and it was not me just modeling the picture, because we're not models, right? We're just, like I said, we're the everyday woman bringing this product to an everyday audience. So we sat in front of a camera and was like, this is a Chanel bag, and this is why the Chanel bag is special. Why you're going to go for the craftsmanship, and really talking about the heritage of the brands. Why do we want to spend all that money on a Birkin? It's because it's hand stitched, the saddlery, the story behind it being, you know, they would fit the carriages, fit for royalty, and you'd come back and you tell the customers, this is why someone would spend this money, and this is why it's very rare, and this is why it is a premium price over the resale, because you can't walk in and get it, and you're paying for the craftsmanship and it's shipped, and there was only 40 made. Like yesterday we had a show where actually not even yesterday, this morning the girls are showing a special order bag which is black and pink, no longer made, special order, only offered to a VIP. So if you want this bag, you can only buy it in resale. And why is this bag so special? So that's the storytelling. So brand heritage is where we came to this live shows, how we came to our social selling, and talking about why that product was special, rather than, like I say, this boring static image. I'm not here to be a copycat. I'm me, I'm unique. Our customers are unique. And yes, we're inspired by brands, and yes, we're inspired by other resale platforms that have done it. But we're like, you know what, we want to do something that's unique and different. And that's what we did, was through social selling, through the live show sellings.
Got it. I think the one thing that really stands out, and having worked with you guys, is you're real front runners and innovative in this space. But you're seeing
I'll take it.
But you're seeing a lot of competition now copying that, right? You're seeing a lot of people looking at that and saying they want to be able to storytell through video, make it authentic. What is the secret sauce or the DNA that makes you different? What is it that you would say makes Luxury Promise stand out in this space?
And I'll probably say it time and time again, we are not just about a transaction. Of course, we're a business, so there is going to be transactions, and actually it's about the relationships that we've harnessed and the community spirit that we have, that no one else does it. So we spoke about earlier on us opening up our space, which is, in London, it's a 9,000 square foot space, which wasn't designed to be traditional retail. It was designed to be a space where we can host our community events and bring together those people that have met digitally. So we've done so many incredible events. When we first opened up our space in February with the London Mayor, we had 100 people fly from Nigeria, from Pakistan, from America, from Paris, from Scotland, from all different parts of the world for this event. And these women had met online during a pandemic, had never met each other. Oh, wow. But they all know each other's names, they all know what each other likes, and they met for this community gathering. And that's what the space was designed, is to, be a space which is, you can appreciate each other's purchases, celebrate people's purchases, but also be there when there's times when someone is struggling. So although I know it's a story that might be quite sad, we have one of our community members who was diagnosed with cancer. And so we did an auction for her, which she wanted to fly down her family. She was a young girl, not necessarily a big spender, but an aspirational spender who has been on our shows, where we donated some pink diamonds where we could fly her family members down to be with her. So there's things that we do which is beyond just a transaction.
Yeah.
And that's where I think that's where we would differ from everybody else, is you can't replicate a relationship. You can replicate anything else, maybe digital. You might be able to replicate my picture standing in front of Burj Khalifa or Burj Al Arab, but these are the things that that's what makes us unique. Wow. Is we're real, and we bring that realness to the screen.
Yeah, and that sounds like a super powerful story. And I could see you getting a little bit emotional talking about it. And I think you see that people see commerce is a transaction, but now they're expecting so much more, right?
Yeah.
The consumer expectation is, I don't just want to buy a shoe, I want the running experience. And I think this is something that I see from what I've been watching of your shows. It's not just buying the bag, it's truly embracing the experience.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's why when we're traveling all over the world, they come with us on that journey. They can see the girls, for example, going on their first, like the other live show hosts, going on their first experience to Japan, or making their first very trip to New York, and they're like showcasing them, eating, off the stands of the streets in New York. What someone must be like, oh, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But that's the experience that we share, the journey and the growth journey. So the customers have seen us go on a live show when we had 7 people, and 5 of those people were the team members, and we'd tune in and pretend to be like, we'll be like, Joe, oh, can you show us that bag again? And the host will be like, yeah, sure. And we're laughing in the background thinking, no, that's actually the team members, just to give that. And we kept at it. So they saw us do this. They've seen us grow from a tiny office in the Bulgari Hotel, where it literally was smaller than the room that we're in now, and then to taking a 9,000, 10,000 square foot in London, expanding to Japan, New York, and all these hosts growing with us as well. And they're like, wow. And they see that journey, which is what the fun part is. So we're very raw to our core, really. We're not shielded, and we're very truthful. We're very honest with our opinions. If there's maybe a product that I don't like, I'll be like, no, I'm not showing that. And they can see it, because it's not about the transaction. We have to be true to what we stand for.
Wow. And I think the moderators and your hosts are, you're creating this category of a job, right?
Yeah.
And the authenticity. So are they your secret sauce? Are the hosts and the moderators that authenticity? Would you say they are your brand ambassadors on the front line, basically?
They're our secret sauce, but also as well, they're not just normal show hosts. For me, the brand DNA is always been authentication. So making sure that we've got experts who understand the product behind the screen.
Okay.
I can hire, and that's where I don't think a lot of people understand that true formula is expertise, product curation, and then displaying that onto a screen and being a personality. And that is really the secret formula sauce. So it's not just about just turning up, doing a show. It's about making sure you bring in that product curation, bring in the knowledge to the screen. So our buyers are our hosts.
Okay.
And there is no job division. Okay. So usually people are like, here's a buying team, here's a sales team. Our buying team are our sales team, because they are the people that understand why that product should be on the screen in the first place.
Wow. So you kind of converged, and you've made it quicker. Rather than having different siloed teams, it's one person who's the real authentic buyer is now showing you the product, someone you can relate to.
Yeah.
And do you also feel, because when I heard you'd opened up a store, naturally I think footfall, but you've almost taken the digital side and combined it together with the physical to create another experience. So tell me more about the experience you're creating in the shop front.
So for me, we still are traditionalists in some ways. So we wanted to have a physical space so that people feel comfortable. So that's why we have hubs all over the world where people can come and visit. So they can come and visit our store in London, they can come here in Dubai, in New York. So if they want to make an appointment, they still have that traditional element. So we take digital, the digital part, which is new, and then we take the, very traditional element of if someone wants to make an appointment and they want to physically touch, feel and try, they can do that.
Okay.
And that's why we are so inclusive, because not everybody is into live show selling. So we still have the traditional website that people can check out on if they want to, or if people want to make an appointment and physically see the item, they can, or if they want to physically come and sell the product or have a conversation, sit with one of the, book an appointment, sit with a personal shopper, they can have that, as well as educational events. So this Valentine's, as soon as I get back in London, we're doing an incredible event with De Beer Diamonds.
Okay.
So they're going to come with the Natural Diamond Council. They're going to talk about diamonds over lab-grown diamonds, give them education, give them a bit of information, so that when they want to make that purchase, they make an informed purchase. And that's what we're good at. It's the educational element of bringing, like I said earlier, bringing that brand heritage, bringing the brand knowledge, so that they can come and make that informed decision. And sometimes they may not even make the informed decision to purchase from us.
Sure.
They may take that informed decision and purchase from the brands directly. And that's what we're all about. It's actually the first point of call should always be your brands.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones who are going to give you that 100% of guarantee. You're going to be able to go in, get that product. But then if you can't, then you can come to us. And we always recommend that.
Okay, no, I think I love the way you describe that. It's kind of your inspiration, education, and then purchasing on your terms, whether that's online, in your store, or with the brand themselves. You're basically building the community and the ecosystem.
And there's lots of shows that we do which would be just purely educational. So yesterday we did a watch show, and it wasn't about, yes, if you want to buy, you can, but it's not just about the sales. It's, this is what you need to know before you make a big watch purchase. This is the information you need to know before you maybe buy a £20,000 handbag. So when we do turn a 1 hour show on, it's a sellout. Because they've been given the information on multiple shows. So my only show that I always will be hosting is a Tuesday show. It's called My Daily Dose of Vitamin C.
Okay.
It's dedicated to Hermes bags, and we'll show a variety of pieces. It's not designed to be a sellout show. It's designed to be a purely informative show. What you need to know about leathers, what you need to know about hardwares, why this bag might be more expensive, or what colours you might need to go for. And that's the information you want to come to me for, and I'll share my knowledge, where it's a bit about, this is what you need to know about authentication, this is the difference between the leathers, what's more hard-wearing, not hard-wearing, and that's what we're about as well.
Got it. And just touching upon the innovation side once again, and the ability to get out to the masses in a very seamless way through video commerce is something that has worked very well for you guys, right, you would say? And what would you say with video commerce do you see as the future? Is there things that you feel are missing from that kind of exposure out?
Well, there's lots of things we can do, obviously, to grow. And for me, live show selling or video shopping or social commerce, as we call it, I no longer call us an e-com platform. How I define Luxury Promise is we're a social commerce platform. So people can come and socially interact with us, whether it's live or in person. And for me, it's all about becoming a network that's 24 hours, hence why we're global and where we are based. Literally, you'll find us maybe online at any point of the time, any hour. Why? So we can include the community. So, part of the reason why I set up the Singapore office was that they could, focus on APAC. We've also got Australia, we've got Japan, which we just launched, which was an incredible, successful launch. We've got New York, we've got Canada, we've got Dubai, we've got London. And for me, I want to become, I want to say, like the Netflix of live show selling. And we do have lots of brands that come up to us and companies that will say, come and work with us. I'm like, no, this is we don't need anyone to go else. We don't sell on anyone else's platform. We sell only on our website, and that's it. Because that's what we're about. We're about really harnessing the community and making sure that they're included in every time zone.
Yeah, so your brand is super important to you to keep that authenticity with your communities. And you're kind of doing this follow the sun model, I think they call it. So you're available all the time to your community.
That's why the sun.
Yeah, the sun just shot out. Well, it is Dubai. But the other thing we talked about was, what advice would you give as an entrepreneur? You were going to be a solicitor. I also come from an Asian background, so I know it's either doctor or solicitor. I didn't do either. So what would you say, or what advice would you give budding entrepreneurs in this space?
Do you want me to say the truth?
Of course.
I always say, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Look, it really depends on the lifestyle you want. I always say, don't do it. Take the job where you can have 25 holidays a year and not worry about the stress. I think there's so much glorification on entrepreneurship. It is hard.
Okay.
And there is no such thing as work-life balance. There isn't. I'm not balanced. I'm here in Dubai and everyone's like, oh, have a great time with your family. No, I'm sitting here having an interview. I'm going to got off this interview straight onto a live show until 10 p.m. at night, not have dinner on the table with my family. I'm here. And that's that's a sacrifice that you have to make. And I think that you have to be fully prepared for a sacrifice. And of course, the upside is amazing, but there's also some downside because giving up time it's not always great. Giving up time with your family and trying to find that work-life balance, there is no such thing. I live, I breathe, I sleep it. I have to dedicate everything to this to make it successful, and that's it. There's no in-between. If there was a book of in-between, I would be doing a live show selling that moment, and I'll be in there at the top. But, I think look, it depends on what you want to do. I wouldn't have it any other way,
sure,
of course, but there is a lot of sacrifice attached to it, and I love it. I'm very passionate about what I do. So I don't feel like I work a day because I do what I'm doing what I'm passionate about. But sometimes it can be tough. But that's just life. Got to ride it.
No, I love that. I love the answer too. I mean, it's true. It's hard work, right? I've had the privilege of meeting some founders and people who are entrepreneurs, and it's tough work.
I'm like, I hear people saying, yeah, I read 500 books. I'm like, where the heck did you have time to read 500 books? I'm just about to get through my emails. Yeah. Of course, obviously, when you're getting to that stage where you're trying to learn and get that growth stage, and then you hit this peak, and then you're growing, which is, again, incredible. But I think, I always hear, I wake up at 5 a.m, I do a workout. I'm like, I don't know where you think you're going to have time to do a workout when your business is tripled the size. It's hard, and if you do get that balance, I'd love to watch that live show.
Yeah, so be ready for super hard work and some tears, but in the end, it'll be worth it.
I hope so. I'm still on it. Yeah. I'm still on the journey. I'm not there. I haven't finished yet. Maybe we can do with the 3-year interview.
Yeah, that sounds great. We'll pick another location. Yeah. But you also...
on my yacht.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's an aspiration.
That's where you go, like, on my yacht. Well, there you go. So, Sabrina, how did you do this all?
I'd love to have that. That's a great plan. Tell me a bit about the female entrepreneurship or the female leadership within your organization, because you talked to me about making sure diversity and inclusion in the community, but you're also making sure of that within your company. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I would like to say it's not something we are like we're trying. We hear a lot of like greenwashing about making sure you've got the diverse team and a female, and you have to hire a female, and you have to hire this. I'm like, no, that's not naturally. That's what our DNA is so natural that we just ended up being a 95%. It's not because I'm like, I need to have women. It's because I want to bring people that are passionate wherever they're from. Yeah. I don't care where you're from. You just have to have that passion, that drive, the hunger to be within this business. And that's how we've naturally grown. And for me, it's really important. If you want to make the changes, bring in the people that you can make the changes with. And even when there's things like, the inclusion about different cultures and, you're here in the Middle East and you might bring a team member, like, oh, so why is March the gifting, why is it so a peak season? It's like, well, because it's Ramadan. It's the Christmas of the West. So this is why it's peak season. And just teaching people that, for me, is so fulfilling. And that's what I think is really important. And, we just had Lunar New Year. And when people were like, oh, but why are people giving red packs out? And you're like, okay, guys, let's learn about the world. Yeah. And the community's learning as well through it, because they don't really understand. Like, even the other day, I'm posted a picture. I was like, oh, so do you have to dress differently now that you're in Dubai? I'm like, no, the only thing is I'm a bit more glam, I'm a bit more colourful, and I'm a bit more bling. Definitely a bit more bling. But those are the things that people are going to learn through the DNA of the company. And that's what when I say becoming a truly global business, that's what I want to conquer.
Okay.
It's people to really, in some way, education, not just about product, but education about people.
So education and communities coming together and learning about one another and throwing in luxury.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all are, right? So tell me a little bit about, you just touched upon the future. So what I'd love to do is just hear, what is your vision for the future for Luxury Promise and your communities? Take
over the world.
Okay. In your yacht?
Yeah, in my yacht. No, well, I say, one handbag at a time, but I need lots of handbags. What I used to say, that used to be my quote. I'm like, 1 million handbags at a time is going to take over the world. So for me, it's really about becoming this really like a global business with presence in all parts of the world, and having, like I say, this 24-hour machine that's completely just running and being fun and innovative, where people are like, okay, this is the company. I want to be like this company. And this is what I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it better than them. Hopefully that by then I'm like, you know what? Go for it and do it better. So those are the things that you want to be, set a change. I remember when I turned live show selling, a lot of even my investors were like, are you sure you want to do this, Sabrina? I don't think you should do live show. It's going to devalue your company, or it's not the way to grow your company. Stick to e-com, make your product photography better. I'm like, but why?
Yeah.
Why do I have to do what everybody else is doing? I'm here to set my own footprint, and I don't need to copy anyone else's footprint. And that's what I want to do, is change this wave. And now we see this wave of other resales people coming in, and now they're looking at live show selling. But like, how can you scale this? How can you do this? And that's what, was always the question about, how do you grow this? And so for me, it would be about, these were the guys that made this change.
Absolutely. You were like front runners in the space, and now people are trying to, catch up with that. So I think the one thing I wanted to ask, what are some of the trends you're seeing? So, you've come like live selling, that you were really in early, right? What are some of the things you're seeing now? We saw recent advertising in the Super Bowl around Timo, the new app, right, that does all live selling. But are there other trends that you're seeing in this social commerce space? And I love it that you call it a social commerce platform. That is, I think we should copyright that really quickly. But
copyright.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say are some trends that you're seeing, future trends in this space?
Like I say, it's people want community and experience. That's the change we're seeing.
Okay.
So I think what COVID kind of taught us is that we have to be really aware of our environment and the people around us. And that's kind of what was our real trigger, that people were becoming more aware of people's feelings. And, social is now become the new outlet. It's a way that people see news, where they can maybe not see the news in the news. And this is the way that people are now looking at the future, right? And so I think with social commerce, people want the authenticity. They want the realness. They want to have the true experience and the true value from someone that they trust. So, why do people look at influencers? Like I always talk about when we're talking about our handbags, in the past, you'd have Victoria Beckham, she'd be wearing a Birkin, and all of a sudden everybody wants that bag that Victoria Beckham is wearing. And now it's not, it's the social sellers, it's the social influencers that are making that decision, where brands are now working with an influencer to make sure that people are more aware of that product. So I'd say it is the future. What is it, 30% of the way that people shop? For us, it's 90% of how people shop. So eventually, you're going to find more and more brands are going to have to sell this way.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to just turn on and go to a site and be like, what shall I do?
Yeah.
How shall I buy? So it's that informative way of shopping that people want. And people want the realness.
I completely agree with you. We were looking at some analysis online, and we were seeing the behavior of people and where are they spending their time. And it comes to 4 key areas: entertainment, education, gamification, and shopping, of course.
Yeah.
So how does Luxury Promise take that unfair share of the attention by combining those things?
We do it all. Like I said, I'm very entertaining.
You
haven't figured that out, which is, I'd tell my husband that all the time. He might probably disagree. Okay. But for us, we offer all of that. It's all about that real reality TV, right? So if you look at the rise of reality TV, we kind of offer that live. It's like the Big Brother service inside the community that they're watching us live. So for example, one of the reasons why I'm actually here and sitting here today is because one of our team members, Joanna, is getting married.
Oh, wow.
She started doing her first live show. So awkward. I wish we could have like a clip here of her first ever live show. Yeah. And where she couldn't have she didn't want to give eye contact. Okay. It was very awkward. I mean, all of us, we watch all back at our very first live shows and what we've done, and they've seen her grow from, joining Luxury Promise, from her master's degree to her proposal. I cried on live TV. I cried on the live show when she first announced that she was getting engaged, and she showed her ring, and I got really emotional about it. And so people saw the realness, and they're entertained by it. And now they're like, oh my God, Joanna's getting married. We're actually streaming her entrance. I won't stream the whole party. Okay. So we're streaming her entrance when she gets married this Saturday from Dubai. And so people are going to get to experience that and be part of her wedding digitally. And they're getting the entertainment, they're getting the realness, the rawness of what we're about.
Wow, that's amazing.
And that, like I say, can't be replicated. It's real. We're real women sharing real life stuff, having real life struggles, crying on live TV, getting married.
I don't think you get more authentic.
You can't get more authentic.
And the raw emotion. I mean, that is super powerful. Like that for me.
And of course, they're going to see us watch what we're wearing, and what bags we're wearing as well, which is the commonality of why all the women are there. Yeah,
combining the entertainment, the raw emotion, the shopping.
Yeah.
Wow, that might be the first ever wedding streamed by, I have to put something in here, Bambuser.
Yes.
Like, wow, first live stream video of a wedding. Well, I hope you have...
And probably the most glamorous.
Without doubt. Sabrina, thank you so much for making the time with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I know you've got to get to a live show. It never stops.
Yes.
But it's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope we get to see each other again on that yacht in 3 years' time,
We will.
if not before.
We will. Manifestation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really hope that you enjoyed the conversation. We will drop new episodes of the Forecast every month, so make sure to connect with us to stay in the know. You can follow us on LinkedIn or on Instagram, or you could subscribe to the podcast in your podcast player of choice, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or sign up for our newsletter so you never miss an episode. Again, we have so much incredible content coming your way, so watch this space.